Hey guys, just letting you know that my Discord server is public again. Now this server has been around for years, but it hasn't been public since I started this channel. And the reason we're making it public again is because we are going to be doing a group read for Wind and Truth starting December 6th when that book comes out. We already have a bunch of people on board. I'm going to be in there. We're going to have a channel set up that you can discuss all things Wind and Truth as you are reading it. And we plan to host more group reads throughout the year. So if that's something you're interested in, the link is in the description. Hopefully I'll see you there. Hey guys, so this past weekend I went to the Eras tour, and it was actually an interesting experience because I got to chat up a bunch of Swifties, and what I would do is I would go up to them and be like, hey, have you guys read the Bloodsworn Saga by John Gwynne? And they look at me, they're like, no, well, what the hell is that? Is that a vault track or something? I'm like, no, it is a trilogy of epic fantasy novels by John Gwynne. It's a very cool setting inspired by like Norse mythology, by Vikings. You got like a lot of high stakes action, and by that point they were gone, but I know I can count on you guys to listen to me. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to talk about the Bloodsworn trilogy today. I recently finished the final book, Fury of the Gods, and I have thoughts. This was a series that started, I believe, in 2021 with Shadow of the Gods. It was followed a year later by Hunger. Just wrapped up with Shazam 2 over here. And this was a series I actually read as it was coming out, and it's also the only series by John Gwynne that I have read. Just putting that out there, I have not read The Faithful and Fallen yet. I definitely intend to. I hear amazing things about it, but just come into this review knowing that this is the only experience of John Gwynne I have. So as I said, this is a fantasy series that takes place in a sort of Norse Viking-inspired world. There's a lot of unique history involving these gigantic gods that used to roam the earth, but they are long gone and have sort of left behind a pretty awful place. And the series begins with us following three main characters. You have Varg, who was a slave on a farm, who kills his master and escapes, and he is sort of taken in by a faction of mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn, of course, so the namesake of the series. And they sort of help him get back on his feet and to achieve his ultimate goal, which is to track down the killer of his sister. We're also following Orca, who is a retired warrior who has settled down with her husband Thorkel and her son Brekka. But one day some shit goes down and Brekka gets kidnapped, so now Orca is on a quest to get him back. And we're also following Elvar, who is the daughter of a prestigious Jarl. However, she has sort of rejected the noble lifestyle and has gone off with a band of warriors known as the Battlegrim. You know, she wants to go off, achieve glory, and die historic on the Fury Road or whatever. So we're following these three characters who are all separated and all navigating this world in their own ways, and it is a very harsh and cruel world. It's very much like the historical Europe 1,000 years ago, but with a bit of magic thrown in. We got some fantastical creatures going around, you know, we got some evil witches up to no good, and these buckos over here, you know, the long dead gods I mentioned, surprised that they're back. You also have folks known as the Tainted, who are essentially demigods, like descendants of these gigantic gods. They have their powers in their blood, and as such can access some rather unique and inhuman powers. What the series eventually becomes is this gigantic epic battle between essentially good versus evil, although there are definitely many shades of gray here. As we have the evil angry gods and the less evil but still angry gods wanting to tear each other to shreds. So all of the human characters need to decide who they're going to ally with and who they are going to help. The three main characters I mentioned, they're all on the good side, okay? They're going up against the evil dragon here, Leek Rifa. The series does something that I love when series do. As the series goes on, we are introduced to more POV characters who actually oppose our heroes. So then as this giant war is building, we start to see both sides of it, giving us a look at the lives of the villains and how they justify what they do. And it adds a lot of interesting layers to this story and its characters, which I gotta say overall is pretty fantastic. I mean, the first two books in particular, Shadow and Hunger, I absolutely love. Those two books blew me away, and I gave both of them 5 stars when I read them. The world John Gwynne has created here, you know, it's familiar in the sense that it's based on a lot of things we've seen before, but he has so many unique and interesting elements to it. I loved learning about all of the different characters and how they are all sort of connected in the greater story. The action, man. Let me tell you about the action. I'm sure that a lot of people, myself included, picked up the Bloodsworn Saga mainly because of how sick the covers looked. And something you probably wanted going in was to see these beasts just, go completely mad. And as far as that aspect goes, this series absolutely delivers. I mean, the battles here are so stunning. Again, I've only read these 3 books by John Gwynne, but he is easily like one of the best authors I have ever seen when it comes to writing action. It packs such a punch. It is so visceral, so intense. He really captures the grand scale of these battles when you just have these, Goliaths fighting each other. And while the giant beast action is great, the person-to-person, like human stuff, is also very entertaining. And of course, when you throw the Tainted into the mix, it leads to some very creative and memorable battles. And he weaves these battles together with, the character development and the story progression to create these very fast-paced and entertaining rides. But those 2 books have been out for ages now, and you're probably here to hear what I thought of the conclusion. Because after Hunger of the Gods, Fury had to do a lot. And based off where Hunger left off, that was not going to be super easy. But I will say overall, if you have enjoyed the Bloodsworn Saga up to this point, Fury will deliver. It continues the engaging character arcs that have been built up. It once again delivers on the stunning action. It is very fast-paced. There are a ton of satisfying payoffs. And overall gives this trilogy an ending it really deserves. For the most part. This book is a little frustrating. I want to preface by saying, okay, I gave it a 4 stars. I really enjoyed the book. And I don't want you to get that twisted going forward. But of course, I did think this was a step down from the first 2 books, and I do have some criticisms here. For one, I think the entire book suffers from just being a bit too rushed. This is a series, in retrospect, I think would have worked a lot better with 4 books instead of 3, as it has to move very quickly to get through a lot of the points it needs to for the story, which often results in certain things happening too quickly, not giving, certain moments enough time to breathe. The whole series is fast-paced, but I think this one is almost too much. I also think it sort of falls into the trap of being a bit too satisfying. Almost like John Gwynne had a checklist of everything that needed to happen to bring, the ultimate catharsis to the readers, to the point where it actually became a bit predictable by the end. Like, okay, this character had to die, this character had to die, this character had to do it. There were definitely still some surprises and things that caught me off guard, but there were a lot of moments that I feel didn't really have the weight they should have, either because the outcomes were so predictable or again, things were just moving a bit too fast for my taste. And for all of the relatively satisfying conclusions we are given, there's actually a lot that I was kind of surprised wasn't really addressed. Like, there's actually a few plot points that just are not resolved, and again, that makes me wonder why this wasn't just 4 books, because I feel like a lot more could have been done there. Again, this was still overall a really great book, and even when, I wasn't super on board with some of the story decisions near the end, I still had a wildly entertaining ride throughout the whole thing. It does unfortunately keep me from calling the Bloodsworn Saga one of my favorite series, but it is absolutely one I would still wholeheartedly recommend to fans of fantasy, especially, Viking Norse type settings. And you'll all have to let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and also give me your pitch as to why I should read The Faithful and the Fallen sooner rather than later. I did want to add a quick spoiler section though at the end, so you should definitely leave if you plan to read this book. Just a quick reminder about the Discord, link in the description. So yeah, time to go people who haven't read Fury of the Gods yet. Shazam 2, baby. Give you a couple more seconds. It's a big one. I hate that rat, man. Radha is so... He reminds me of like Randall from Disney's Recess, man. I was shocked when he killed Elvar. Seriously, man. Wow, I did not expect Elvar to die like that at all. Really great scene, though. Definitely a highlight. Definitely one of the most unpredictable highlights of the book. Very shocking twist. What was even more shocking, though, is that Rata gets away. What the hell? Yeah, I mentioned that list John Gwynne had of satisfying conclusions. I feel like Rata requiring a horrific death needed to be on the top of that list, but it just was not on the list at all. What do you mean he just got away? What? As for the other deaths, I mean, I thought Bjorn and Guthvar, that they're kind of who I was talking about when I was calling things predictable or whatever. Both of them literally die in the same way, where like their final POV chapters, like the last sentence is like, and then the axe came down on their head. Like, you're really gonna do the exact same thing twice in a row? Like, okay, I get it, these guys need to die, and yay, they're the villains. But once it happened the second time, I'm like, alright, okay, I guess we just needed to get rid of him. The final battle with Leek Rifa was goated, though. That was great. Though, like, one of my biggest disappointments with this book comes from this bucko over here. Snaka, the giant snake god. Snaka is one of the coolest concepts in this series. Like, his bones stretch across the continent. That is epic. That is insane and crazy. I love it. And when he finally wakes up, man, it was so epic. Easily one of the most memorable parts, not only this book, but the whole series. But when I got to that part, I was a little concerned, because there wasn't actually a lot of time left in the book afterwards. And I'm like, how are we going to introduce this guy into this already kind of epic story that needs to wrap up soon? When Snaka finally enters his human form, I thought he was awesome. He was so cool, so intimidating. I love that Leek Rifa and Rato was sort of like groveling at his feet. It was awesome. And then they kill him. Now, it's frustrating because on the one hand, I think this was a really smart way to kill Snaka. I like that his children betrayed him with the plan to eat his heart. It made a lot of sense, and I overall just love the idea. But what I don't love is that we barely got to spend any time with him. What the hell? Bro, look at him. He was so cool, but he didn't do anything. And like, okay, they kill him, they're gonna eat his heart again. I like that idea. But then the little twerp Vesely, like, zooms in and just, like, snatches the heart and carries it away. And it's the last we ever hear of it? What? Yeah, it's probably, like, my least favorite aspect of this book. I have no idea. That's why I think this could have been an extra book. Like, imagine if this one just ended with Snaka returning, and then we could spend, like, a whole, like, half of the next book with him. That would be awesome. And then they could kill him, then they could take his heart or whatever, and then we could have the big final epic battle. But here it just felt like really rushed. Like, it ends up with Snaka not really doing anything. He only, like, shows up because, well, he has to show up. It's been, like, the promise throughout the whole series. So yeah, overall, still really enjoyed the book. Again, like, don't get that twisted at all. Just definitely had some frustrating elements. With that, thank you all for watching, and I will see you back next time, because I got some stuff to say about something.